Good evening. Welcome, folks. We're very excited. It is the 18th annual Dream and Promise Gala to benefit the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation, or CBTF, as the cool kids on the street call it. Speaking of cool kids on the street, I got Braden Wiggins here with us, all the way from Wisconsin. Braden, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, pretty good.
I know that's a loaded question in 2020, so I wanted to make sure that we still had some time to answer a couple other questions. So if you don't mind, I'm going to throw a couple at you here. So
All right.
you really have an incredible story. What's it like being a brain tumor survivor?
Well, being a brain tumor survivor, it's definitely a blessing, but also a curse. You know, it's a horrible, horrible thing, to have or go through. But what makes it all worth it is, all the people that make it, seeing all the good in people. Like when I was in the hospital, they would always have someone there, right? They'd bring in pizza or, pilots, which I love airplanes. Pilots came one time and I got to speak with them, and they had, it's in Chicago. So, the Cubs become, Anthony Rizzo.
Go Cubs.
Go Cubs. Sponsors. His sponsor is part of it because he had childhood cancer.
Okay.
And
So you've seen a lot of good from a lot of people during a really difficult time in your life.
yeah, and it's wonderful, honestly.
Okay, thanks for that great answer, Braden. Now on to our next question.
Hey Pat, I've got a question for you. What is it like
Oh,
being
you're
an
going to flip the tables here. Okay, go
Oh
for it.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right, fine. All right,
Oh,
let's hear it.
so what is it like being an auctioneer?
It's been difficult during this year because I used to be in front of rooms of 500-600 people like Children's Brain Tumor Foundation and stand there in front of the room and entertain and have fun and raise a lot of money for a great cause. Unfortunately, we can't do that right now. We have to social distance and we have to beat the COVID virus. So that's what we're doing, and that's why we're here virtually tonight. But it's a very rewarding job for me. It's very exciting. I get to entertain, inform, and raise a lot of money. And I get to shame some people along the way into putting some great money into a great cause.
That's
Now, do
great.
you mind if I get back to the questions with you or anything else right now?
Yeah, we can get back to it. Yeah, of course.
I appreciate it. So, how do you feel about being a part of an event as big and as important as the Dream of Promise Virtual Awards benefit that we have tonight?
It's a really high honor and a pleasure to be here. I remember it was a few months ago, and it was right after CBTF's Can't Make a Dream virtual session. Stacia had reached out to me about it, and I was absolutely, I was floored,
Yeah.
having this honor to speak and tell my story at this event. It was truly touching.
It is a privilege and an honor, and there's a lot that goes along with it. So you've definitely risen to the challenge. So well done to you. I feel like you're gonna ask me another question right now. So I'll just let you shoot.
Yeah. So yeah, Pat, what is the craziest thing you have ever auctioned off, and how much did you get for it?
There was a financial CEO, and they offered dinner at his house, at his apartment, and he offered to have his CFO be the sommelier for the evening. We ended up selling it for $350,000, and the place went nuts. It just was one of these crazy nights where people really dug in deep for the cause. But I said, you guys realize what you're getting here is dinner. You're not actually buying the apartment. You're just getting the dinner at the apartment. And they
Yeah.
probably drank $300,000 worth of the guy's wine that night. But still, it was pretty crazy. Outside of that, I've had some fun where I will just pull something out and say, this little remote control in my hand here, we're going to offer that out for $1,000. We'll take it. Or just a pen in my hand or something silly like that, just to sort of get an icebreaker going. And it's amazing. When people really care about a cause, they just dig in deep and give as much as they can. So, and outside of that, we could do this all day, Brandon. I want to get back to you. This is not about me. But I have sold some artwork for wild sums over the years. I know I had a Damien Hirst skeleton. It was just basically the classroom skeleton with paint thrown on it, but it was Damien Hirst. So it sold for $250 million. And what I've understood is that since then, it's appreciated for a lot more than that. So lucky winner. They got a nice charity right off that night, and they've got a great collector's piece as well. So Braden, back to you, because you are the subject matter, not me here. What would you most like the people watching to know as they prepare to join us tonight for the Dreams and Promise Virtual Awards benefit?
I'd want people to know that this event goes far greater than any story. It is something that benefits people, the survivors, and the ones, we unfortunately lost. And, it's to all the wonderful volunteers and anyone who has contributed, large or small, has made a difference. And the fact that, we're all here around this one cause, it just, it's surreal, really.
Yeah. And you said that right. Regardless of what someone gives, the fact that they care enough, even in a year where a lot of people have lost their jobs, a lot of people have been furloughed, and so on, the people are still digging in deep for a great cause. So well said. And so as that's a nice teaser for our auction later, when it's time to give, folks, every dollar will count towards CBTF. So please be generous later on this evening. And Braden, since we've had some back and forth, anything else you'd like to throw my way?
Oh, Pat, I've got one last conversation. I've got one last.
I had a feeling that you did.
Yeah, I've got one last question for you.
Okay. So,
you being an auctioneer, you say something really complicated and really fast for me?
Sure. I'll do one of my warm-ups when I get ready to get out there and start selling a lot of items really fast. I usually say rubber baby buggy bumpers, rubber baby buggy bumpers, rubber baby buggy bumpers, rubber baby buggy bumpers. So we can say that fast. And since we're saying things fast, I think we should probably just let people know that tonight, Monday, September 14th, support CBTF and our 18th annual Dreams and Promise of Virtual Award benefit tonight. That's tonight. Make sure you log on tonight. Make sure you join us tonight. We're going to raise lots of money. Everybody say goodbye to Braden. Braden, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you later tonight.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Benita Hamilton, and I am so glad to be here for the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation's 18th annual Dream and Promise Awards benefit. In this difficult time, I miss so much being able to take the stage and put smiles on people's faces. And we so badly need to smile. Tonight, I will not don my hyena costume to resume my role as Shenzi in The Lion King. And don't think I didn't consider it. But I do have the blessed assurance I will help put smiles on the faces that need them most. How do I know that? Because this evening, in the face of a global pandemic, we have still gathered to fight that savage disease, that child killer, pediatric brain and spinal cord tumors. We will bring smiles, solace, and care and comfort to those who need them most. Helping us this evening are a few of my friends who also happen to be some of Broadway's biggest and brightest stars, families and survivors with powerful stories, and Mr. Pat Tooley, Auctioneer Supreme. We began this evening with a reading from Heidi Hartong Rispoli. Her strength, I know, will move you.
Did you know September is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month? Did you know that brain tumors are the #1 killer of children by the disease? I didn't know that. I didn't know this until September 19th, 2010, when my life changed, my family's life changed, and my daughter, Josephine's life changed forever. Mommy, my head hurts so much I want to hurt myself. Those were the words she spoke just hours before finding a brain tumor. She was only 6 years old. Atypical teratoid rhabdoid tumor We had suddenly been immersed into an episode of Grey's Anatomy. Our innocence was gone. I could no longer tell my daughters that, don't worry, everything will be okay, because we knew not. I did everything right, or so I thought, and cancer still crept in that back door, stealing my daughter like a thief in the night. Josephine's 16th birthday was July 9th. We celebrate her every single year, wondering who she would be, what she would look like. She was the peanut butter between the bread, the middle sister, the stoic one, the funny one, the generous one. After diagnosis, the first thing that happened, she had a shunt put in. And then immediately following, she had brain surgery. And my biggest fear was that we would lose her and that her brain, that she wouldn't be the same. I prayed and was so thankful to see her wake up with a big white bandage around her head and a crooked smile. The nurses on the pediatric oncology floor told us that Josephine's treatment was like the kitchen sink being thrown at her, and that an adult would writhe in pain on the floor. Josephine had 6 rounds of high-dose chemo, 2 auto stem cell transplant back-to-back, and 6 weeks of daily radiation to her brain and her spine, where she was intubated every single day. On August 31st, she completed her protocol. We celebrated. It was the end of a very long year. We got ready for back to school. But sadly, to the day, a year later, September 19th, 2011, the cancer reared its ugly head. We took her to the hospital, and Josephine, sitting on the toilet in her bathroom in her hospital room, looking frail and broken, looked at me. And for the first time through this entire journey, she looked at me and said, "Mommy, why did this have to happen to me?" I almost collapsed because I couldn't answer her. I didn't know. Through our journey, we saw light, we saw goodness, we saw darkness. And upon our arrival, just like when you take a tour or a vacation, we were given a little package of pamphlets and booklets. And one of the things I kept still today is the resource guide that Miriam made, the Pediatric Brain Tumor Resource Guide. It was like a Bible to me. And I hang on to it because it reminds me of our journey, of the hard times, but also of the precious times. I am so grateful for the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation. We brought Josephine home on October 5th, knowing she was going to die at home. On October 23rd, 2011, at the age of 7, Josephine took her last breath. She was frail and broken. But before her death, we talked about a garden, a special place for the kids to go outside on a rooftop at the Joseph M. Sanzari Children's Hospital in Hackensack. I had seen the space. Josephine and I talked about it, and after she died, I knew I had to do it. I'm an artist, and this was my most important artwork I had ever done. It is full of symbolism and life and hope, and the most important element is the climbing, or is the warrior pole that stands in the center, representing fire and battle and passion. And the kids, just like when they go out, just like when a soldier goes off to war, are able to leave their mark, like their graffiti saying, "I was here, I fought the fight, and then I carved their name in." There's a climbing boulder to feel Mother Earth. There's a fountain with water, and there's slate on the walls for them to draw on. And all the artwork is from Josephine's book, from kindergarten. And Josephine's garden is from Josephine's signature. I am so grateful for the Brain Tumor Foundation. I am so grateful for meeting Stacia. We are here as a group, as a collective today. I am here representing all the children, my daughter Josephine, in hopes that we can help find a cure through the research we are doing here, through your funding. We need to work together. Amidst this pandemic that is going on right now, children are being diagnosed every single day. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here tonight and giving of your hearts and giving from your pockets and giving from your talents. Josephine sees you and thanks you.
Sharing the story of your child so cruelly taken requires a rare kind of courage. Facing that pain daily so other families won't suffer the same tragedy is heroic and the definition of generosity. Na segonya mabagiti babo gonyama helele gonyama oh season gonyama helele gonyama oh season on this planet and blinking, stepping to the sun. There is more to see than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. Ooh, well, it's far too much to take in here, more to find than can ever be found. But the sun rolling high on the sapphire sky keeps great and small on the endless round. It's the circle of life, and it moves us all through despair and hope. On our path unwinding, Children's Brain Tumor Foundation has had the fortune of meeting other groups also passionate about saving children. Integra Life Sciences is one of those groups. Each year, one of the foundation's biggest donors and ever recruiting others to the cause. They have proven time and again a true friend. From Integra, please welcome Carrie Anderson, Shraven Imani, Michael McBreen, and Eric Schwartz.
Thank you, Benita. Standing with Children's Brain Tumor Foundation is one of Integra Life Sciences' most enduring traditions. Dr. Stuart Essig, Integra CEO from 1997 to 2012, and our chairman of the board of directors, saw in the foundation an extension of Integra's mission to be a vehicle for medical progress and ever-evolving patient care. And for 16 years, he has worked with the foundation, consistently serving as a co-chair for the Dream and Promise Awards benefit. Integra's involvement was never a question for him.
Under the leadership of President and CEO Peter Arduini, Integra has not faltered in continuing this tradition. The Foundation's work, too important. Over the Foundation's 32 years of service, pediatric brain and spinal cord tumor treatment has changed drastically. Developments in research, medicine, and care, making survivorship a frequent reality. Children's Brain Tumor Foundation has been the engine behind much of this change. Raising funding for scientists, doctors, and caregivers, the Foundation has been able to address and improve every step of the brain tumor journey.
Aware of the dread and depression carried by the children and their families fighting this monstrous disease, and the common experience of loneliness and bullying endured by the survivors, the Foundation unceasingly builds communities and groups, sanctuaries of companionship. No one needs to be alone. Even when the worst happens, the Foundation has programs in place to help the devastated families. These programs are essential. Despite the many steps forward, 1/3 of children diagnosed with a brain or spinal cord tumor still do not survive beyond 5 years. And many survivors must deal with the physical, cognitive, and emotional effects of treatments for the rest of their lives.
The war is far from over, but with Children's Brain Tumor Foundation leading the charge, hope is ever the wings on our feet. Integra is honored to fight beside the Foundation and proud to be counted among all those companies and individuals who with gusto and great generosity have joined us for this critical virtual benefit. Despite troubles unprecedented in our lifetime, you too know nothing must slow our fight against a child killer who never slows. Until pediatric brain and spinal cord tumors are a thing of the past, Children's Brain Tumor Foundation will be here, and so will Integra.
To present tonight's Pioneer Award for Pediatric Neurosurgery is an internationally recognized leader in pediatric neuro-oncology. The founder of the clinical research program, Head Start, whose work drastically increased tumor survivorship through brave new treatments, Dr. Jonathan Finley.
Hello, everyone. When considering the accomplishments to date in the career of Dr. Mark Swidan, one might be tempted to employ the metaphor of a machine, but this would be a very poor choice indeed. Dr. Swidan's overwhelming empathy, his need to improve lives, to save lives, precludes that metaphor. He is a doctor, a clinician, with a self-imposed mission to conquer the deadliest forms of brain cancer attacking children, and to do so maintaining for each of them the highest quality of life. He is a tireless researcher and a gifted surgeon, performing over 300 surgeries a year. Let's take a moment to hear from Dr. Swidan.
One of the most meaningful parts of who I am, being one of 6 children to an immigrant family, first-generation American, was phenomenal from the standpoint of watching the toil and turmoil of somebody paving a path to give better to the generation beyond them. Having loving parents who were uneducated but really prioritized the idea of furtherment and academic prowess and achievement were always kind of the missions in our family. So it was nothing but a memorable experience growing up in that household in Metro Detroit. Never would have thought I'd end up in New York City at an academic institution doing pediatric brain tumor work. I got involved in the field of neuro-oncology somewhat serendipitously as a resident at NYU, observing some of the glorious work of Dr. Fred Epstein and Jeff Wissoff treating children with brain tumors became inspirational to me. So as a resident going into neurosurgery, parlaying into pediatric neurosurgery and then neuro-oncology, it was just based on watching those around me that were really leaders in their field in the realm of treating children with brain tumors. You can never do this in isolation. The number of hats that I wear and the roles that I take care of on a daily basis at the administrative level and leadership level are all secondary to my primary mission, and that's to take care of kids and nurture the families of the kids I take care of. That's the primary calling. That's the reason I'm where I am. I think the most challenging part of my profession is that interface of trying to give back to not just the child but the parent, not just the idea but the reality that their child will be normal and have all the things that child should have in front of them as they go from year forward. So I've been in this career of mine post-training for 25 years, and you can't prepare for giving and presenting, delivering bad news, bad outcomes. It's hard not to break down. It will always be something that is difficult, gut-wrenching. I think that the only way I prepare for it, if there's any way to prepare for it, is to know in your heart and in your soul that you've done everything within your capacity to do something the way it should be done. As a resident, getting exposed to the camaraderie and the joint effort of the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation and the interplay of a lot of talented clinicians in radiation oncology and pathology and neurosurgery was revolutionary to me, to see that there was an enterprise, not just built upon the clinicians, but a foundation who brought these individuals together and recognized the joint effort of this, and something that has to be symbiotic was indelible to me. It's a shame that the equivalent of the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation doesn't exist in every disease process that we work in on the clinical side. It's an amazingly valuable resource for the parents.
I feel a personal sense of pride in being invited to present this award to Mark today. That is because I had a hand in recruiting him straight out of his neurosurgery fellowship in Toronto to Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center back in the mid-1990s. This despite the angst of one of his famous New York teachers and neurosurgeons who perhaps anticipated, as did I, his success in New York as a rising star in pediatric brain tumor surgery. But after all, New York City is a large and generous place, and everyone ended up as close friends and colleagues. Certainly 25 years later, our anticipation of his potential success has been realized, and Mark is clearly recognized as one of a handful of the foremost academic pediatric neurosurgeons in North America today. It should be no surprise that Dr. Swedan set his sights on the ultimate child killer, a tumor with a 0 survival rate, typically striking children between 4 and 11 years of age. This tumor, known as diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, or DIPG for short, sits on the pons, the eloquent area of the brainstem controlling essential body functions. Children who develop DIPG all die almost always within 12 to 18 months of diagnosis. Unable to accept such statistics, Dr. Swidan started working over 20 years ago, first in the research laboratory and over the last decade in children, leading to his ultimate development of a clinical trial using this special delivery technique known as convection-enhanced delivery to bring new drugs directly into this tumor, a technique considered impossible in the brainstem before his trailblazing work. Dr. Mark Swidan is truly a hero for his sustained commitment and effort in this field. He is a pioneer, and as such, I am honored to award him on behalf of the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation with the Pioneer Award for Pediatric Neurosurgery. Thank you.
I am deeply honored to receive the Pioneering Award in Pediatric Neurosurgery, but I want to take this opportunity to first congratulate the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation on over 3 decades of exemplary service to children and their families. I thank you. I accept this award with profound humility since I am keenly aware of past honorees in respective fields of not just neurosurgery, but neuro-oncology, radiation oncology, and neuropathology. Many of these individuals who have served as inspirations for me in my own career. During my residency training at NYU, I was captivated by the tumultuous journey that a child would take when diagnosed with a brain tumor. I was surrounded by a stimulating group of pediatric neurosurgery mentors, Dr. Fred Epstein, Dr. Jeffrey Wissoff, and Rick Abbott. In addition to them, there was a core team involving individuals from every specialty. Individuals like Jeff Allen, Doug Miller, Charles Sklar, Tanya Sheminsky-Mayer. These individuals would show me and demonstrate by example that it's okay to get personally involved, hold a hand, and even on occasion, shed a tear. To this day, I committed that I would surround myself with a core team that shared in the empathetic approach toward these children with tumors. When I accepted my faculty position at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center and New York Presbyterian Weill Cornell Medical Center, I saw this as an amazing opportunity, nearly an empty canvas on which I could create a new and innovative career in pediatric neurosurgery. Neuroendoscopy, or the use of endoscopes in the brain, was at its newness when I began my career. Given my interest in pediatric brain tumors and the fact that many of these tumors occur in the interventricular location, I saw this as a great opportunity to pioneer a new avenue. I'm happy to say that 20 years later, endoscopic neurosurgery serves as a vital component in the upfront surgical management of germ cell tumors, pineal region tumors, and a host of other brain tumors. The second innovative trajectory my career would take was in drug delivery. When I began my career, traditional systemic forms of chemotherapy, while highly effective in many cancers, still had dangerous side products. It wasn't uncommon that toxic side effects and even toxic mortality were part of high-dose chemotherapeutic regimens. I was fascinated by the early preclinical work being done with alternative forms of drug delivery. I latched onto the idea of convection-enhanced delivery, a form of direct drug delivery, where you would instill chemotherapy or other agents directly in the tumor bed. I committed the next 15 years of my career to paving a safe path for this to translate into a clinical trial for children with an otherwise fatal disease, namely diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma. I'm happy to say that the platform of CED for DIPG exists central to several open clinical trials today, and I'm also happy to report that a phase 2 study is forthcoming, and I expect to be active this year on a global scale. To accept this honor this evening from Dr. Finley for me is very, very personal. Dr. Finley has played a central role in the development of my career. No person, even the biggest personalities in neurosurgery, have played such a central role in influencing my career. Amidst many dinners on East 18th Street or on Prince Street, Jonathan would continue not only to encourage me, but to dispel any self-doubt I might have about paving a path less traveled in neurosurgery. Jonathan, I thank you for that encouragement, and tonight I share this award with you. Thank you. In this post-pandemic environment of social distancing, I find this very awkward to be involved in a gala in which I would normally shake hands, hug, embrace, and sit at a dining table with friends and colleagues. Whether we do this virtually or in the same room, I know that we will continue to overcome this beast of pediatric brain tumors together. I close with a heartfelt thanks to the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation, and to reassure all that I'm only in mid-stride and will continue on this pioneering effort in pediatric neurosurgery. I wish you well, and thank you again.
There's a place for us, somewhere a place for us, peace and quiet and open air, wait for us somewhere. There's a time for us, someday a time for us, time together with time to spare, time to learn, time to care, someday, somewhere, we'll find a new way of living, we'll find a way of forgiving, somewhere. There's a place for us, a time and place for us. Hold my hand and we're halfway there. Hold my hand and I'll take you there. Somehow, someday, somewhere.
This evening, we have the opportunity to bring real comfort to a suffering child, to brighten a child's world, to save a child's life. Please donate what you can. Thank you.
Laura Osnes, ladies and gentlemen. What a voice. What a talent. It is my pleasure now to introduce another great talent, currently Raoul in Broadway's famed Phantom of the Opera, Mr. John Riddle, to share the stirring story of Dora Taylor, a truly strong young woman.
My name is Dora Taylor, and I'm a brain tumor survivor. Before I got sick, I attended many Broadway camps and workshops. My biggest dream was to give my regards to Broadway, remember me to Herald Square, tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. I always dreamed of having my name in flashing lights. But on January 2nd, 2012, I was taken to the emergency room, where I waited 4 grueling hours, had to explain my symptoms to the doctor, and finally was rushed to a CT scan. I followed as tests were done and the final result was announced. The doctor, in the bluntest of voices, "Your daughter has a brain tumor." I vividly remember my dad, the strongest man I know, a lieutenant, bawling. My mother, another strong individual, was in fear, yet withheld her tears. I understand now how she wanted not to cry in front of me. Rather, I squeezed her hand, crying, petrified of the day I had been having. And worst of all, I had to go into surgery. I'd never been through surgery, and now I was scheduled for one of the most complex and dangerous, brain surgery. I came out just fine, or so I thought. When I woke up from the surgery, I was sent back to my room. The following morning, the doctor came into my room, gasped and screamed, "Dora, your pillow is soaking wet." My reply, "I drool too much." Little did I know it was brain liquid, and I had to be rushed into yet another surgery. Without a hint of fear in my voice, I reassured my mother that I would be okay. Mom, I got this. Unfortunately, that was not the case. I went into that second surgery and then a coma. I underwent 3 more surgeries in this state and had to be transferred to Blythedale Children's Hospital, where I couldn't eat, walk, or talk. They thought my left arm would be paralyzed forever. After about a month there, my right side had gone completely normal, and my left side moved, but shakily. After 2 months of hard work and extensive therapy, I gained mobility in my legs and arms. I now suffered from a speech impediment, but with the progress I had made, I was able to go home on outpatient treatment. I'm eternally grateful to Blythedale for the almost 2 years I spent with them. Their help and support helped me meet amazing people. My brain endured trauma that even I cannot completely comprehend or explain. And due to that, I wear an eye patch. One of the things that hurt the most about going through what I had was no longer being able to sing and dance like I used to. Singing was my passion, and having it ripped away from me so young is an experience I'd never wish upon my worst enemy. I spent almost 8 years passionless and full of pent-up anger. I missed Broadway camp, but my mother knew after the tumor singing was too painful for me and that camp was no longer an option. The death of this dream destroyed me. So she Googled Camp for Brain Tumor Survivors, not expecting much, and found Camp Make a Dream. And thanks to the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation and my experiences there, I learned I can be my 100% authentic self and still make lifelong friends without the fear of being judged. My perception changed, and I began thinking about that a lot. After writing a research paper on the media's representation of eye patches, or lack thereof, I read a study stating kids treated for lazy eyes with eye patches had lower self-esteem and lower self-perception, and that broke my heart because I too knew how it felt to not be confident enough to walk outside for fear of being ridiculed. So I thought maybe if those kids had a positive media representation of someone in an eye patch looking great and feeling great, they'd feel less alone. So I started a website called www.idorabletaylor.com and an Instagram called @idorabletaylor, doing just that. I hope that I can help empower those who need eye patches and show them that they are not alone. So many bright futures have been stolen by pediatric brain and spinal cord tumors. Please donate and help us keep more people like Dora in our world.
In that spirit, I ask that Pat Tooley with our second short auction event. Let's show these children that not even a worldwide pandemic can stop our love. Let's give big. Now, please allow me to introduce Lionel Leventhal, the Foundation's board chair, and Stacia Wagner, Foundation president.
Thank you, Benita, and thanks to all of you for being here with us this evening. You know, the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation, our Dream and Promise Gala, is literally the single largest source of funding from any of the events that we have all year. So what we do tonight is critical to the actual existence, survival, and growth of our organization. And I think it's important for you all to know that we are the only national organization that provides critical services to survivors and their families from the day of their first diagnosis through their entire lives. So what we do at the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation really matters, and we are critical to the pediatric brain tumor oncology community. The money we raise today and throughout the year funds two groups of things. Number one, the services that we provide to the survivors and the families, and number two, the research that we fund and have funded for decades to the leading minds, the top researchers at the most important institutions, and there have been significant advances in survival rates for pediatric brain tumor survivors as a direct result of research we've already funded. It's also our research, in addition to these grants, includes our landmark tissue consortium, which is now called the Children's Brain Tumor Network. It was called the Children's Brain Tumor Tissue Consortium, which we started a little more than 10 years ago with one institution, CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, but now has expanded to 18 research institutions around the world, the top research institutions, and no single institution sees enough cases for them to be at critical mass so that they can make progress in improving the diagnosis, because there are many different tumor types, improving the diagnosis and treatment of patients. But the fact that we now have this tissue consortium that's 18 institutions strong and growing, and the fact that the data from the tissue consortium is fully open source, meaning any researcher around the world, whether they're part of the tissue consortium or not, has access to our data, really helps us speed along to get to the date when we really have full-on cures for all the different tumor types. So tonight, we are honoring Dr. Mark Swedane. He is the Vice Chair of Neurological Surgery at Weill Cornell. He is the Co-Director of Pediatric Neurosurgery at New York Presbyterian, Weill Cornell, Columbia University, and Memorial Sloan Kettering, and he's the co-director of the Children's Brain Tumor Project. And importantly, he's the doctor who treated several of the survivors who are in the audience this evening watching. It's a perfect example of what happens when we apply our funds to the leading brilliant minds, because Dr. Swedane's accomplishments have really been game changers. So coronavirus has put all of our lives on hold, but brain tumors don't get delayed and don't get put on hold, so we have to continue to make progress. So all of you, every donor is a soldier helping us in this fight to cure this beastly disease, and many of you have already given in advance of this evening. Thank you very much. Please reach into your pockets and give us more. To those of you who have not yet donated, multiple opportunities to do that tonight. Sponsoring certain specific programs, a straight donation, things we're auctioning. So anyhow, please, we really appreciate Benita Hamilton and the group of Broadway luminaries who are helping us this evening to illuminate and celebrate what we've already accomplished and what we have yet to accomplish. And now I'd like to introduce Stacia Wagner, my partner, who is the president of the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Tonight is a special night for families to know that we are cheering them on, lifting them up, and committed to finding a cure. During these times, many of us have faced feelings of isolation. For families impacted by a brain or spinal cord tumor, isolation often becomes a way of life. Tragically, they experience loneliness and struggle to find others who understand them. CBTF builds the community that's a lifeline for these families. Whether it's a teen finding their new best friend at the Heads Up conference, a father finally finding another father who has shared a similar journey, a young adult on a Zoom chat who looks around and knows they're surrounded by their true friends, or a survivor who found employment through the CBTF Career Program. CBTF built the nation's first family mentoring program. We know that a brain tumor diagnosis impacts the entire family, so we created a sibling program because siblings often feel forgotten. 1/3 of children diagnosed with a brain tumor will not survive, so CBTF has a loss, grief, and bereavement program for these families. Together, we will end isolation, build a community, and reach our goal of making sure no family goes through the brain tumor journey alone while we work to find a cure for this devastating disease. The money raised at tonight's virtual Dream and Promise Awards benefit will help CBTF continue to be the nation's leader in programs and support. Tonight's gala is virtual, but our dedication isn't. Tonight we are in different spaces, but our hearts are in the same place. Tonight, we send love out to those impacted by a coronavirus and to all essential employees. Together, we stand with you, helping Children's Brain Tumor Foundation move forward and help families navigate these extra challenging times. Thank you for being a part of the CBTF family, and have a wonderful evening.
Our next incredible performer told me how proud she was of all of you last year. She said if you gave big again this year, she might even come back. Well, I guess you did. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former Princess Jasmine to Aladdin, star of Broadway's upcoming musical Between the Lines, last year's Dream and Promise Mistress of Ceremonies, and my Disney cousin, Ms. Ariel Jacobs.
You think I'm an ignorant savage, and you've been so many places. I guess it must be so, but still I cannot see if the savage one is me. How can there be so much that you don't know? You don't know. You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. For whether we are white or copper skin, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind. When was the last time you had the opportunity to save a life? To bring hope to a child? To return a child to a family? This is your chance to be that hope and that life. Please donate.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Braden Wiggins from Appleton, Wisconsin. I'll be sharing the story of my brain tumor journey. But the story isn't entirely about me, it's about everyone who has made my recovery possible. Shortly before my diagnosis in November 2014, I started to fall down a lot. At random times, my legs would just give out, causing me to collapse. It got so bad that I injured my knee when I fell down the stairs. My mom was concerned and set up a doctor's appointment to see what was wrong with me. My doctor checked me out and saw nothing wrong until he gave me a neuro test, which I failed. To rule everything out, he referred me for an MRI scan on my brain. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving of that year, I had my first MRI. In typical technician style, they said nothing about the results, saying only that the doctor would get back to us on that Friday. The holiday helped distract me from any fears until that Friday came. My parents went out early Black Friday shopping. I spent most of that day on the couch watching TV, playing video games until they came home late. This didn't surprise me, since they usually take forever at shopping. However, it did surprise me when my mom called me downstairs. She had a very grim look on her face, and frankly said that they found out the scan had discovered something in my brain, and we had to go to the hospital. There was a flood of questions going through my head, with very few answers. I packed my things, and we left for the emergency room at Robert and Ann Lurie's Children's Hospital. At the ER, they explained to us that I had a tumor in my brainstem. Because of its size, location, and appearance, it could be one of two things: low-grade and treatable, or malignant and fatal. Throughout the weekend, they ran many tests and scans to determine what the tumor was. They then decided to perform a biopsy to rule everything out. Monday morning, December 1st, they put me under. The surgery left me altered physically. I had severe fatigue and struggled to move my body. For the first few days, I could not walk at all. With the help of physical therapy, I was on my feet more and more. Now knowing more about the tumor, the doctors found it to be a low-grade glioma. However, due to the location of the tumor, it would be non-operable, a diagnosis for the rest of my life. To combat the tumor, I underwent chemotherapy for a year. My body was tested physically as I went through the treatment, but MRI after MRI showed not only no growth, but shrinkage of the tumor. After 7 rounds of chemo, I finished my treatment. Afterward, we followed up every few months to see if there were any changes, and miraculously enough, it stayed stable with no growth. I slowly recovered from all the chemo effects and built back some of my strength and stamina. Even though the tumor didn't affect me mentally, it has impacted me physically. My body has very little perception of my surroundings besides my eyes, so balance and spatial awareness is always a struggle. This makes walking and running much more difficult. Throughout it all, I wondered about the other kids similarly suffering. At the time, I had met other people and adults with cancer, but not brain tumors. So it all changed when I found out about the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation's Heads Up Conference at Camp Make a Dream in Montana. For the past 4 years now, I've had the wonderful opportunity to meet all kinds of wonderful campers, mentors, and volunteers who have had brain tumors, each with different perspectives, stories, and journeys. They have helped me so much and continue to shape my cancer journey and where I want to end up. I don't believe I would be where I am without them, and for that, I am forever grateful. I'm currently in my junior year of high school, and I'm aspiring to become an aerospace engineer. I'm optimistic about the future, and I'm ready for whatever survivorship has in store for me. Thank you.
Among us tonight are families whose lives have been devastated by the loss of their child to a brain or spinal cord tumor, and the suffering is still fresh in their minds. Yet, despite it all, they lend their voices to our cause so that others may live. This song is for you.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. Oh, if you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. I will lay me down.
If you are able to donate and haven't yet, please do. Let our generosity ring as loud as the voices we have heard tonight. Thank you.
I am Hallie Palmer. I was 11 when they found my tumor. It was 2 weeks before my 12th birthday. I had complained of headaches for a couple of months. The doctors told me to keep a log. My parents made an appointment for an eye specialist to see if anything was wrong visually. After basketball practice, the night of February 4th, I didn't feel well. I woke up feeling sick and started vomiting, and I had chills. My mom and dad cleaned me up, just thinking, was early symptoms of the flu. So the next day they took me to the doctor, and she noticed that my coordination was a bit off. She thought that maybe I was dehydrated. But just to be sure nothing else was wrong, she sent us to the ER, Jersey Shore Medical Hospital, to get it all checked out. Once there, The doctors ran blood work and did a CAT scan. Now, originally, they thought I could have had Lyme's disease. But when the CT scan came back, they found a golf ball-sized tumor on my brainstem. What I didn't know is that they pulled my mom out of the room and told her what was going on. I had no idea. From Jersey Shore Medical, I was transported to NYU Hospital via ambulance. Now, the reason I went to NYU was because they had the top pediatric neurosurgeon of the area, Dr. Jeffrey Wissoff. I was admitted to the PICU at the hospital on February 5th, 2009. There I had an MRI that showed my medulloblastoma. After a few days of letting the brain swelling go down, I had surgery to remove the tumor. This was February 9th. Well, they were able to get over 80% of it out that day. The tumor had grown around my nerve endings, though, and they had to cut it to remove it. It affected my facial nerve endings and my fine motor skills, causing the right side of my face to droop and the right side of my body to turn inward. I mean, it took some time for me to become comfortable with my appearance. The surgery was followed up by 6 weeks of daily radiation and 6 months of chemotherapy at NYU Langone. The great team of doctors at Stephen D. Hassenfield Children's Center for Cancer and Blood Disorders, especially Dr. Sharon Gardner, were incredible to me. My biggest challenge was that I had to relearn how to swallow, eat, talk, and walk. Today, I am unable to walk unassisted because of my gait issues. Before my surgery, I could walk and do everything normally. I was an extremely active kid. I played basketball for St. Mary's, lacrosse for the local rec team. I ran cross country, and I took 2 dance classes, a little hip hop and a little tap and jazz. I think that I miss dancing independently the most. I missed a year of school and lost some friendships. During all this time, my family and my community were very generous and caring. When I was 15, I was introduced to the wonderful Children's Brain Tumor Foundation. A physical therapist I had at the time had heard great things about it. She talked about the camp, but I wasn't ready to go there yet. So I was added as a survivor. The first Children's Brain Tumor Foundation event I went to was a boat cruise. It was there that I met Stasia and many others. It was on that boat trip that I heard about Camp Make a Dream, where both brain tumor survivors and kids still undergoing treatment come from all across the country to get together for a full week of fun and activities, such as our camp's fun day outings, zip lining, theme days. After that, I was convinced that I really wanted to go, but I was still too nervous to go that year. I went the next year, and it was great. I love the experience of camp because everyone knows what it's like to have a tumor and you don't have to explain or apologize for being you. It's one of the only places where you can ask questions and talk about things no one else wants to ask you or wants to hear about. For those reasons alone, camp is like a family reunion every year. The friendships I made there are some of the most cherished to me. I don't know, we may not have had the same outcomes, but we all know what it's like to struggle with our new normal. I look forward to other CTBF events. I have been kayaking, gone to holiday parties, and recently took part in a career workshop. I look forward to our weekly Zoom meetings where we catch up and play trivia games. One of my major accomplishments is that I went to a 4-year college, Edinburgh University in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, where I graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts. And it was hard at times, but I was able to accomplish my goal. Today, I am 23 years old, and I aspire to be a museum curator one day. I currently still live at home. I suffer from ataxia, but can walk with assistance or my posture walker. I use a wheelchair for long distances. Some of my favorite hobbies are traveling, going to see Broadway shows, going to concerts, and watching movies. I've had over 12 surgeries over the last few years and continue to gain more strength and independence. I am now celebrating my 11th year cancer-free. And with the support and friendships that I have made through Children's Brain Tumor Foundation, I continue to thrive. Thank you, Hallie, for the honor of reading your story. I must now also thank another friend of mine and fellow Dream and Promise Mistress of Ceremonies, Ms. Rebecca Falconberry, for her tremendous rendition of Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Dr. Fred Epstein, legendary pediatric neurosurgeon, said, "Of those we serve, hope and faith play a huge part in every patient's recovery and in the survival of every patient's family." Well, this evening, despite an ongoing pandemic, you have been that hope. You have bolstered that faith. With what you have given, or what you are about to give, you have opened doors to treatment and laid new groundwork for care. So importantly, you've given the gift of companionship. You are, or about to be, the answer to a child's prayer.
I pray you'll be our eyes and watch us where we go, and help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer when we lose our way. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe.
Siamo un mondo senza più violenza, un mondo di giustizia, di speranza. Ognuno viva amando sol vicino, simbolo di pace, di fraternità. La forza che ci dà.
We ask that life be kind
Il desiderio che
and Thank you all.